Welcome to the Homeworkers Network, the show that is all about creating an engaged homeworkers community that shares best practice and leadership so that together we can grow and develop both ourselves and our businesses. Now, today is our Christmas edition. We're not going to be taking things too seriously today. We haven't got an agenda. We're just going to talk about anything, really, anything that the audience wants to talk about, anything that my co-hosts here want to talk about. I'll just introduce Marcus Boswell. Hello, Marcus.
How you doing, folks? Good to see you.
All right. Looking very fetching in there. You actually look a bit horny.
Well, you know how it goes. The thing is, I'm only semi-bar humbug. I'll explain why later, but I won't go there in too much detail. But I can see that you're out doing us and shining for all of us. But this is about as festive as I could get. We're pretty low-key on the festivities here. I mean, we have a tree and whatnot, but it's all about the kids, really, isn't it?
Yeah, of course. And Phil Croshaw, how you doing, mate?
Yes, I'm very well. Marcus Boswell's just giving me grief about not being festive.
Yeah.
So
there
you go. Let's get the Christmas tree in the background.
Yeah,
right. Now, are you going to shut up now?
You look like a right fruit.
That's fantastic.
I need some mistletoe dangling from here. That's what I need, isn't it?
Absolutely brilliant. And that must be uncomfortable on your head. That.
I was going to make some comment about Jesus then, but I thought I better not because probably insult somebody.
Do you know what? I really hope. You got to put that back on. I just went for a money shot on the Tell a Little Bird, and it just as it got its act together, you'd taken it off. I've got to have that.
Yeah, well, I'll do a screenshot. I'll do a screenshot before we finish. Yeah. Definitely. Now, let's just talk about in the Christmas context what you guys have been up to, Marcus. I mean, do your company do Christmas big? Are you going to have a Christmas party? How does it work?
This is really, really interesting, right? So we're the Homeworkers Network, right?
Yep.
Big up to everybody who's been joining us over the last few weeks. It's been an awesome ride so far. Oops. Anyway, here's the thing. My organisation is like 10,000 employees strong. I don't know, more than 100 countries, etc. In the UK, we've got this one major site, and my head office is in France, in Paris. So here's the thing. For all of that, I work from home. So I never go to any of the Christmas do's. I never, right now I know in the office I get all of the emails they've had, like all kinds of cake things and secret Santas, and people are winning stuff all the time. And I kind of look at these emails and I think, all right, I'm not massively bothered, but it is quite the detaching thing when you're working, in a remote environment. So unfortunately not. However, I do know that we do tend to have some sort of a dinner and dance type vibe that happens, I think, in sort of January or February time. And once again, I've never been. So what can I tell you? But yeah, they do it. I just don't take part.
Fair enough. Now, Phil, like me, you're a one-man band. Is there any Christmas celebration in a work context, maybe with your clients or anything like
that? Not really, but I'm really, really not bothered. I did it for so much in corporate land for so long.
In the words of words of Darth Vader, I find your lack of cheer disturbing.
Well, I don't know. I mean, listen, my other half, she's got, as I said before, she's a manager of a doctor's practice in Manchester, and she's done nothing but moan for the last few days about how fat she's got to go to the Christmas do, and she doesn't want to go, and she knows that a number of the staff, the usual suspects, will get absolutely hammered, and then she'll end up probably trying to calm them down, and she's just absolutely dreading it.
Yeah.
So you know what? That I just keep focusing on those comments, and then I'm fine. I think I've been doing it that long now, guys, that I'm just so used to it. Sometimes with clients, I'll end up working on site with them, for a full day here and there or whatever. And you know what? I'm actually now at the point where I kind of don't like doing that because I just don't like. I've just got so used to this way of working now that I don't like the overly social way of working now. Just the way I am.
You've become instant, haven't you? In your own way, you can't help yourself. I saw your thought for the day, and it was kind of, thought for the day. what did he say? Something like, you hate being told what to do. Don't be told what to do. I like it. You know, it's pretty much, it sums you up.
Don't we all? But
Exactly.
So Christmas for me, being in marketing, is I would say probably the busiest time of year. I thought the summer was the busiest time of the year for me, but actually, going on this Christmas is definitely the busiest time. I mean, it's been for the last 8-9 weeks, it's been relentless. That said, it's been really enjoyable. In fact, I'm in the middle of writing a blog on my blog about some of the things that I've been up to this Christmas. So one of my clients is a town centre, a very busy town centre. So, obviously we did the Christmas light switch on and all that sort of stuff. A lot of fun, really. And Christmas party-wise, obviously I don't have my own Christmas party because there's only me. But virtually all my clients have invited me to their Christmas parties. I obviously can't go to them all. I have accepted one, which I'm going on Friday night, which I'm really looking forward to. So, I love Christmas. We do Christmas big in our house, even though I'm Jewish. But yeah, I'm looking forward to sharing what I've. But I hope my wife isn't watching this or doesn't watch the recording after. But I think I might share what I've bought for us all for Christmas a little later on. Maybe it should be my top tech tip. Although I want to give my Christmas Philips Hue lights my top tech tip this week.
I'm really. I'll tell you what. I've been spoilt for choice on top tech tips a little bit.
Yeah.
Just to see how much I struggled with that, just a little bit.
I just want to show you something, Marcus, which I think that you will appreciate. It's not. Hang on a second. Let me bring this up here. It's not at inbox 0 at the moment, but that's my Spark.
Man, I've been loving it. I've been loving Spark.
And this morning I was at inbox 0 for the third time this week. So thanks for that, mate. They have definitely. I had a few issues with it, by the way. It was putting in emails in my inbox that I'd received like 10 months ago. But I think that's because the way that I hadn't sorted out my folders in my Google Mail from when I had Mailbox, and it still had a load of Mailbox folders in there.
Yeah, me too.
I think that was confusing it a little bit. Yeah. But once I got rid of them, it's been working fine.
But you needed to, and this is the thing, because what it was telling you was all the folders that you had been ignoring. And in my case, or at least that could have been the case, in my case, I was also having loads of because you got the pinned emails, and I had lots of starred Gmail, and I had to go through there, and quite rightly so.
Clear it out, yeah.
And I'm now in a very, very happy technology space with
the first time that email is working for me in a very long time.
Yeah,
very long time.
Yeah, they're doing good things.
I still hate getting email, to be honest, but at least it's not as tedious as it used to be.
No, I look down and I see right now 33 is not a bad number, and I know I can whiz through those. And something else, that I'm going to employ more of actually, and should do, and I advise any of you out there to do this too, is when you get onto these newsletters, from time to time, it's a lovely chin shot there, from time to time, that's all right.
Sorry.
Just go and unsubscribe from the crap. And stop looking at it. Simple as that. I used to set up loads of filters in Gmail and it captures all this stuff. And I thought, why am I subscribing to this nonsense? I don't care about that hotel, or I don't care about that bloody magazine or whatever blog. Just knock it on the head.
Well, the easiest way to do it, Marcus, I don't know if you're aware of this, but there are a few hidden features within Gmail that. So, for instance, my Gmail address is Paul Dici, right? As you know.
Yeah.
Okay. But if you put anything after that Paul Dici, so if you put Paul Dici .newsletters, right, you can it will still arrive in your inbox.
Right. Okay. I've heard this. I've never used it because you can have any number of. Yeah, I've never used it.
And then you can set up filters. So all the newsletters that come, you can just then set up a filter. So if anything you subscribe to, if you use that email address, it could just go straight into that folder.
Very cool. But then how does that differ from setting up a filter, though, within Gmail to just say, okay, when you click on the link, just saying, okay, anything that comes in from this, is it the same deal? Anything that comes from these people, send it there?
I suppose you could do that, but there
what's the benefit really of me other than?
There are ways of doing it, but it's just a good way of separating out stuff, you know. But anyway, I just thought I'd mention that. Now, while we've got a few people watching live now, is there's anything at all you want to talk about in the home working context? But also Marcus, who decided was how we were going to do the show this week for Christmas. Also want some ideas from members of the audience on what you might want us to talk about in the future.
Can I say hello to Tracy Odell? Thank you for joining us, Tracy. First time on Blab. That's some exciting stuff for you. If you fancy joining in and cutting your teeth with a nice bunch of guys who aren't going to... I know we look crazy. I know the horns and stuff are a little weird. But, you know, once you get past that, we're all right.
I know Phil's looking a bit weird, but he always looks weird. So don't let that put you off.
He's dressed up as one of the elves. That's what it is.
He's come. Yeah, no, he's come as Fester.
Yeah, festive.
Yeah,
festive.
Absolutely. So Phil, what have you been up to? Christmas with clients? Any sort of Christmas stuff you've been up to?
Well, apart from the usual stuff with clients, we're actually planning on launching a new side of the business next year. So I've been putting a bit of effort into that. It's called Content Rules OK, and the clue's in the title.
It's true.
So we're going to be going a lot deeper. Sorry?
Content does rule.
Yeah. So, I know I'm preaching to the converted with you guys. But it's. I was thinking about all the clients I've worked with and some of the challenges that they've got, and I tend to have a belief that it's not about marketing, you know, versus traditional marketing versus modern digital marketing. Now, I think there's only one game in town, and I think that's going to be the case for the foreseeable future, and that's digital marketing, because everybody's just ignoring traditional. Yeah, everybody's just ignoring traditional sales, traditional promotional stuff. You know, here, hi, do you want to buy my stuff? You know, you've got to work a lot harder now to engage with people.
What?
And I've come across this. So a lot of the clients I've worked with, they quite often they buy into the concept of it. They understand the logic of it. They're trying lots of new stuff at the moment. Sorry, old stuff, and it's not working anymore. And one of the things they struggle with is resources. And I know you know this because you do this a lot yourself. So what I decided to do, I'm bringing a guy in who I've known for quite some years, who's ex-BBC and senior publishing guy in a number of large publishing companies. And we're just basically going to go out there and we're going to focus our efforts on content marketing and communications rather than the wider digital space. So in other words, we're going to go deep rather than broad. And so that's quite exciting.
No, it's all
Sorry,
right.
I've gone on a bit there, but that's
one thing I've noticed recently. One of my clients that I work with is a major print media company, and they've noticed it too. But the print has enjoyed a resurgence recently, and people are actually going back to so where before, because of budgets were tight and all the rest of it, they were doing everything digital because it was cheap or cost neutral.
I've heard that too.
People are actually, sometimes, and you wouldn't expect me to say this as somebody who's involved in digital marketing, but sometimes as you can't beat, they're just picking something up that you can touch and feel. And if it's done well.
The context that I heard was from Gary Vaynerchuk, actually, who was answering a question for somebody. And whether you love him or hate him, what he was saying was that some companies are going that way, big companies, back to billboards and back to all of that kind of stuff. And the question was why, given where we are, why are people doing this? And he was saying, well, look, you get to a certain point of saturation where, digital, everything, we've been going in a certain direction, spending all this kind of money. Now, of course, it doesn't hurt to spend that extra little bit of cash in that area. Why not? And it's just another thing. It's a bit like writing long form letters. I can tell you look, very rarely do I pick up a pen and actually write stuff down. In actual fact, that reminds me of an excellent top tip that I'm going to share with you today as well. So I'm going to pull that one in as well. And why the hell not? So we've got some really, I'm quite excited. There's a number of different things that that are possible these days. And I tried to move paperless many moons ago, and I think I was very successful at having done so. And I'm going to share with you at some point today the things that allowed me to completely go paperless. So that's great. Thanks, Lisa.
Do you know what, though, Marcus? As somebody who runs a business, and I know that what I do is a lot different to what you do.
Yeah.
But if you have your own business, it is impossible at this moment in time to be completely paperless.
Okay.
Right? It's impossible. That said, I think I'm as paperless as close to it as I possibly can be. You know, but you know, when you have a business, you know, you get all the statutory, you know, papers from like Companies House, from the Inland Revenue. I mean, a lot of it's still online, but incredibly, they still send you paper in the post. It's unbelievable. Now, I've lost Marcus and Phil, although Marcus is coming back now. There you go, mate.
Don't know what the hell happened there. That was weird.
Yeah. No, I was just saying it's virtually impossible to go completely.
So why do you say that? What makes you say that?
Well, because when you have a company, people like Companies House, and HMRC, you know, and send you paper.
Yeah. Digitize it.
Yeah, no, but what I'm saying is that it's still paper.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
You can digitize it.
Yeah,
you know,
we're splitting hairs, though, aren't we? I mean, I hear where you're coming from, though. I want to respect that because I respect you, my man. I respect that. But you know what? Like, first of all, I mean, you know what? Just because it's Christmas, I'm going to seed the show with them. I'm not going to. I can't hold my temptation to discuss some of these things. So, I personally use a ScanSnap. I think it's the 500 something ScanSnap. I'll find it and post the link.
What app? Is it an app?
No, it's a very expensive little scanner. And
you've shown us this.
Right, and I'll tell you something, I've got the app on my phone too, and here's a classic example, and here's how it works in real life. So the other day, we have a problem right now with our cooker, and I'm out and about, and I've got this issue, and I'm thinking, well, I'll try and wrap the story up, so I won't take it that far. But I'm out with my wife, we're talking, and I'm saying to her, you know what, when we get back, I want to see the specs for the cooker, because I was on Evernote, which is another one, just so you know, and I know you're into this, but I was on Evernote and I went to my instructions. In fact, I didn't even do that. I went into the search and I typed out cooker, thinking I was going to get the cooker instructions coming up, because that's how I roll. Whenever I have any kind of instructions, the first thing I do is scan it. Boom.
That's what I've been doing now with my Evernote.
And he says he's not into paperless. But anyway, and then so we got the digital version, right? Now, the cool thing about that is I want to look up anything I like. Evernote will obviously take me right to the very word within the PDF, which is really cool about it. Yeah. So that's one of the reasons why I immediately am prone to go paperless. But the ScanSnap, what that does is it allows me to take any document and just drop it in. I think it's 100 pages or 50 to 100 pages, something like that. And dude, it moves like water, like that. And boom, you've got it. It's OCR in the whole document.
How long will it take you to scan, say, 10 sheets?
Nothing. Literally nothing. Let's build that up. How long would it take me to scan 250 pages? That's where I'm at with it. I mean,
how long?
Well, I don't know, about a minute. I mean, it's
that quick.
Dude, I wish, look, do you know what I'm going to do? I'm tempted to go into my office, which is actually out in the back garden, because I've decided to relocate for just today. Get that ScanSnap, bring it. It's no bigger than a laptop. It's smaller than a laptop. Drop it open. Now, the cool thing about it is you can connect it directly via the USB to your computer, right? And, of course, the software that comes with the computer allows you to see what's going on. It's duplex scanning as well, so it will take both sides of the paper immediately with no issue whatsoever. If there's any crumpling or any staple or anything like that in there, it will literally just stop and say, hey, you had a little crumple in there, and it will show you the picture of the crumple and say, do you want to keep that scan or do you want to keep going? And you say, do you know what? Keep going. It just goes, no problem. And it keeps going. Now, if I don't want to be connected via USB, because I can't be bothered to fire up my computer and all that nonsense. So the other day, back to the cooker, my wife finds the instructions that I didn't have. So I said, okay, you know what? Thank you. Give those to me. I literally cut down the seam so that I now had, 25 pages or whatever it was. Dropped it in, brought the scanner into the house, put it on the table. She's looking at me like, what's he about? Plugged it in, opened it up, dropped the little 25 sheets in there, opened up the ScanSnap app on my iPhone. I'm just going to have a look by going for scan. There we go. So there's a ScanSnap app just next to the other coolest app in the world, which is the Scannable. So stay with me here. It's all good. So here we go. Here are the Belling cooker instructions, right? I scanned them in via that thing and it showed up on my phone. So I didn't even need to go and connect them directly to my computer. So now that I have this, I'm sorry about the lighting here. Now that I have that, however many pages it was, all I did was I said to this, send that to Evernote, which is the way I like to roll. Or I could have just said, I could have sent it anywhere. I could have emailed it, done whatever. The fact is it's created a PDF immediately out of that document. So I don't care who you are. I don't care what you say. That is the coolest thing in the world. And I love it. Merry Christmas.
See, the thing is that I'm as paperless as you possibly can be. So like what I used to do before you sort of reinstilled my love for Evernote a couple of weeks ago, last week. Any important documents, I just used to take a picture of them and upload them to my Google Drive.
Yeah.
That used to be a bit problematic if it was more than one page. Evernote, however, does it really nice.
Why was it problematic if it was more than one page?
Because you have to take a picture of each page.
That's a pain in the backside. That's the issue I had with Scannable. It's a wonderful app, don't get me wrong, but sitting there like that was getting on my tits. And the problem was, I had in my office, right? So another top tip that's coming a little later on is how I ended up with a whole bunch of paperwork. And this paperwork was based on meetings that I had attended and taken digital notes on. Now, the problem I had was I ended up with this stack of paper, and I'm one of these people that kind of, I don't know, I feel like I'm going to have some use for that stuff at some point later on in life. So I which ScanSnap model do I have? I think it's the IX500. That sounds about right, but I can double check. I'll jump into Evernote just before we go, and I'll let you know. So thank you for the question. Beautiful model. Anyway, where was I? Damn it. Was it Scannable?
Yeah.
Yeah. Taking loads of pictures was really irritating. So having that stack of paperwork was just sitting there. And here's the thing. It was sitting in my office for like a year. And all of a sudden, and I'm one of those people, this is why I've got, 26 web pages open right now, which is actually not a lot of web pages. If you've been watching the show over the course of time, people, you will have heard me speak about, I think it's OneTab. OneTab. So I have been making good use of OneTab and just closing off all of my tabs at the end of the day, which has been pretty useful. So I haven't tended to have a number of tabs open anymore. But in that same manner, unless I've seen and shut down the information in that tab, I'm not done. I haven't absorbed it. And it's the same thing in my office. I have these piles of things happening in my office, and paper is just dreadful. So I needed a solution that I could use that didn't mean having to sit there taking these individual pictures, because I was never getting around to it. And then on top of that, I was having the kids stuff coming in at the end of term. I was having all of that stuff. And as you now know, being a newfound Evernote lover, if you're anything like me, I have a folder for each of my children. And therefore, I have
one for my daughter.
Beautiful.
All the school stuff.
Yes, fantastic.
All the stuff you get on parent mail.
Right. And the thing is, you can ditch all of that stuff now because you've got a beautiful, crisp, color version of it. I was with my folks. I said, Dad, we were chatting about this stuff. And, my dad, he had his 77th birthday a couple of days ago. And I went down to Bucks and got stuck in a 3-hour traffic jam to travel 4 miles just to get there, as you do. But, we were talking about this. And the fact is, he couldn't, in his dreams, show me a picture of something I did or said or whatever when I was 4, like I can. I've got recordings of when I've been sat down with my kids just reading at nighttime. The giggles, the tickling, all of that. It's all recorded just because I had the phone sitting on the window ledge. And I can just go to Evernote and boom, I'm in there and I can go back to that experience. It's a very powerful thing. So that for me leads in the paperless, all of that. It's all one ecosystem. It's all one, as you know me, workflow for me.
But the point is that I think we're a long way off from companies in general adopting this paperless society, which we should all go to. But the thing is that even like the retailers. So you go into Apple and buy something from Apple, they say to you, "Do you want us to email you the invoice?" Now that's very smart, and the reason why it's very smart is because they're capturing your data at the same time.
Yeah, irritating.
That doesn't irritate me in the least. I'd much rather them email me the receipt. It saves me having to scan it.
Well, I don't mind Apple because it's Apple, but where it comes to receipts, I mean, they can be so ridiculous. I told you the story one day where I had the Hoover or whatever it was, a vacuum cleaner, and because of Scannable, of course, and of course my iX500, and I've just checked for, I'm not sure what the chap's name is that you were speaking to earlier. I guess it could be Liam.
Liam, yeah.
Yeah, Liam, it's the Fujitsu ScanSnap iX500 there in the comments. Because of that, I was able to just look on my phone that moment and thought, okay, great, I have the receipt. Here you go, Doris, here's the receipt. She wasn't at all impressed. It was like I was speaking Swahili, I was an alien, I'd invented fire. She didn't get it. I was like, well, it's proof of purchase. So it's going to take a long time for the rest of the world to catch up with the fact that, yeah, we don't actually need all of these mountains of paper. Well,
I had that argument with, I think it was Curry's PC World, where I'd bought something from there. And because I'd scanned the receipt, which was in my Google Drive, and didn't have the original, and I said, yeah, there's a proof of purchase, something that I need to take back. And they were having none of it. And I said, look, this is how it's going to play. Go and get your manager out here, and we can have this argument. One way or another, you're going to refund me, because this is proof of purchase.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah. If it's good for, HMRC to accept a receipt as an expense, it's good enough for you.
Yeah, and to your point, HMRC are digital. They do all of what they want. So why not? If they can do it, we can do it.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's just changing the mindset. I mean, I went to a meeting with a client yesterday, and she brought out these two pieces of paper that she'd printed off, and she said, "There you go, Paul." And I took a picture of it using Evernote, okay, because then I could bring them in and a checklist on the same note of things that I needed to do for the client. And she went, "What are you doing?"
I actually apologize. I actually say to people before I do that, I'm like, do forgive me, I'm completely paperless, don't be alarmed. I know it's the strangest thing to feel you need to have to say, but it's like a distraction. People watching you on your iPad, they think it's all going off. Question for you though. So you took the picture with your iPhone, and of course you got the nice...
It was two sheets.
Right. So
it was two sheets. I took the picture, and it took the picture of one sheet.
Yeah.
And then I went for the other one. It recognised it automatically, added it to the same note.
Perfect. So it brought them up as a note, as opposed to as a PDF. Had you done it with Scannable, it would then have been an attached document. So I'm just curious about, did you prefer it within the note itself?
Yeah, it was in the note, yeah. I think so. And then underneath the note, the pictures. And what I like about it as well, unlike other apps, it actually puts a copy of the image in your camera roll.
Yes. That's
not all apps do that.
Yeah, that's true. But actually, I kind of don't prefer that, ironically, because it ends up being something else I need to delete later on. But it depends.
Sometimes I just like to have a copy of it to do something. I might want to do something else with it. And I know you can pull it out of Evernote, but it's just easier to go straight from the camera roll for me.
You're right. I mean, it depends on your workflow, if that's what.
But what I loved about it is that in the same note, so I brought in scanned the two documents, and then underneath it in the notes, and then created a checklist of things that I had to do for the client, all conveniently in one note. And also, I think that the presentation element of that could be quite useful too.
Yeah, it can. I've still got a lot of work to do with that, in my opinion, because you can actually, you probably won't know this, but excuse me, there's a line, literally a black line. It's just a little check in the toolbar that you would have to use within your document if you want, when you go to presentation mode, to display separate pages. So just a little tip. That will just help you immediately, because otherwise you end up on the right-hand side trying to separate. Because what it does in presentation mode is it just sticks one big, dirty, long note in, regardless of what's in it. And if you're trying to present that via an Apple TV or otherwise, then it can be a bit problematic. It's not doing it. It doesn't recognize pages. I think this is going to change, though, because, they're adding some really clever functionality. They've got a new CEO and all the rest. So there's some good things coming down the pipe, I think.
Evernote is absolutely fantastic. Absolutely love it. And it's becoming, again, another thing that you've recommended to me that's becoming a part of my daily workflow.
Okay, so let's talk about that, right? So, guys, because it's Christmas and because we're all going to end up buying stuff, I'm going to tell you about one of the things that I personally feel revolutionized many years of my world, apart from the iPad itself. So have you heard of an application called Notability?
Yes.
Do you use it?
No. But I don't write anything down.
Okay. So it actually makes the 4, as you can see, number 1 and number 2, and they are literally in order. Notability is awesome because what it will do, apart from allowing me to have these really cool folders of different things that I want, and apart from all of the additional functionality of being able to put, for example, an image in. So I was looking at a house not long ago, and from the website, I clipped the picture of the floor plan. And in order to illustrate to my wife what I would do if I were to make this purchase, I'm just trying to avoid the light. I'm not sure if I can make this bigger. Yeah, I literally just took out a pen and used the pen icon here and just drew whatever I wanted to draw, made the illustrations.
But you can do that with Evernote now, though, can't you?
You say that. Yes, you can. But there are some advantages and disadvantages of doing it directly into the Evernote app itself. And I think that, first of all, the flexibility for editing will be better to do in Evernote, and then to send it separately, which, of course, once you've sent it separately, it is a PDF, which is quite important. Because then you're not sharing the note. For example, in your example that you gave earlier on, if you wanted to share that information with somebody, just the images that you picked, you wouldn't be able to do that. You'd have to send them the whole note, which includes any of the other assets that you put in there.
I see.
It's a bit personal, right? Whereas if I wanted to send that, now that it's attached as a PDF, I can just send the PDF and nothing else.
But what if you use one of the plugin apps made by Evernote, like Scannable, for instance, or what's the other one? Skitch, is it? And there's a couple of sort of plugin apps that they've got that more or less do the same thing, right?
No. I mean,
right.
Scannable, not interested because, excuse me, I'm not even sure if it's called Scannable. I think Scannable is the version we like. But
it's called Evernote Scannable.
Oh, okay. Well, okay.
And it does exactly
right.
what you're saying Notability does. Although I hear, because a friend of mine uses Notability, and used to use Scannable and moved over. Notability's much better, apparently.
Well, it's just that's all it does. That's what it's for. And you know what? Aside from anything I've said so far about Notability, the hands down coolest thing about it, if you alert the people you're speaking to that you're recording the session, the coolest thing about it is you hit record and it records. You don't know the amount of times I've been in an overseas meeting for 4 hours, if needs be, or all day, and you hit record, and I can just set the iPad down and get engaged with what's going on. And anytime I pick it up and make a note, the recording clocks that I've just made a note. So if later on I'm looking back at my written document and I decide to press play and listen, if I just touch wherever I made a note, whether that was typed or written, the recording jumps straight to that point. I mean, that's absolutely incredible. And of course, you can push all of that up into one note. So I've got many an Evernote note that has a series of recordings plus the attached PDF of what occurred, all saved in one note. I mean, it's phenomenal.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me just read out what Liam was saying earlier in the comments. He's put, have you thought about if your Evernote data crashes? I put no, because it syncs to the cloud.
Yeah.
He said, I meant when it corrupts in the cloud like it did in 2013. Now, I remember that when that happened, wasn't so much the cloud that corrupted. They had a security breach.
Yeah, true.
And in response, and that's actually when I stopped using it as well, Liam, to be honest with you.
I've got some pushback for that.
Hang on a sec.
Good to get him.
Let's let Liam in. But yeah, I stopped using it then as well. They brought in two-step authentication,
which I use. Hey, Liam, it's nice to meet you.
Hiya, Marcus. Yeah, very interesting stuff there, guys. It wasn't actually, maybe in early 2013.
They've got the shit together now, Liam.
A bit. I'm not.
But it was this. Just to bear with me on this, because back in 2008 or 9 when they got started, I mean, I hooked in with them at that stage, and I thought this was the most fantastic
thing ever.
Look, this is just a dreamboat. And I retired from lecturing in engineering just at the end of that year. I took early retirement, but in that last year, I had a group of maybe 30 students, and using two tools just alone, Evernote and FreeMind, a mind mapper.
Oh, God.
I was able to divide these guys into groups of 4 and generally just said, look, why can't we all just teach each other everything in the universe through Evernote? And look, it was such a powerful tool that having retired and having no function in the universe, I just said, this is just an amazing tool. Now, for example, I bought a car. I just got all of the brochures for the car, all the PDFs. I lapped them in there. So every piece of my data, just like the elephant in the trunk, I was going to have there. And I gave over my whole being to Evernote. And it wasn't to do with a cloud issue. My data corrupted. And I spent a period of 2 months over and back and over and back and over and back. And basically, we rebuilt stuff up from the ground up. But in spite of myself, I lost the faith. Now, it's interesting what you said, Paul, about re-engaging last week. And I know that, look, it is the way forward. It's just magnificent. And yet something reminded me then, you know, and it's not really, it wasn't sort of my connection with the cloud. You know, the engineer I dealt with, who was a really good guy, he just said, you know, sometimes you really just don't have a clue what's gone wrong. You know. Now, I thought that was extremely open, extremely honest, extremely transparent.
Doesn't help though when all your data's gone.
Well, it's not that it doesn't help, but it makes you realize. It's like
you're vulnerable.
Recently, I watched a webinar and Evernote. There's no such thing as web security. There's just levels of your belief.
Was that the one with Steve Dotto in it? Is that the one you're referring to?
I'm not sure, but just that statement jumped out when somebody rang it. What can you say about the security behind?
Safe if it's
and I accept that. So I just wondered. Now, fortunately, that I had a synced version of parts of various notebooks on different machines, so I was able to put some stuff together. But for some reason or other, guys, I never managed to recommit that evangelized dedication. Yeah, and I don't mean, can I say to you, the guy themselves, look, if anything would have maintained the trust wasn't in them, because the guy was really open. He got engaged with me. He's 8 hours out of sync with me.
No, it was the resilience, the trust in resilience.
Yeah, and so I suppose it made me look back and I mean, just the other thing I wanted to ask you, Mark, I was sort of half listening at the start when you were talking about the scanner, and look, I have no number of Canon scanners, which I've now they're all sitting there, and I wonder why, because I just use my iPad to picture everything. But am I right in understanding that you talked about that this device basically sucked in multiple pages without getting hung up on dog's ears and all that sort of stuff? Is that right?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, it would, make no mistake, if you're going to put all crumpled paper and all that crap in there, you're going to have a problem, right?
Right.
But if you take out any kind of paper clips and whatever, the cool thing is, sometimes you miss it. I've missed a paper clip in between. So if it gets two documents that go in, it stops and says, well, that doesn't feel right. You've got two documents. It won't throw the baby out with the bathwater. It won't carry on so that, like other scanners, it's crumpled it all through anyway. And then you just can't figure out where it is. And then you, I mean, a lot of my experience before was like you would have that happen, then you would end up with the document, except the 2 pages that screwed up somewhere in the middle because they were upside down or whatever, would have been in there now. And because it's just set as a PDF, you were screwed.
You have to find it yourself. Yeah.
With this, number one, it stops and says to you, okay, you've got a problem. Number two, when it's finished, you then have the opportunity, in my case, because I'm throwing it into Evernote, to go in and turn the pages around, re-rotate, or do anything you need to do.
Without being in Adobe Acrobat Pro.
Correct, and rename the document, and boom, just save it. Because I don't know, you know what? Here's the thing. Evernote pushed back and didn't want us to use it as kind of a document repository. They were trying to go down the all things to all men, this is going to be a new way to think and feel and all that crap. And I think that they've basically said, look, you know what? And here's the thing. We tell people how we want to use Evernote. That's the most important thing about that product, is that everybody uses it differently in some way. They use it according to how it fits their model. And I think that's one of the most impressive things about it, because as a framework, we can do all sorts of things. But on the scanner, I'm afraid I'm not big on scanners or shredders. But I spent 2 years probably with that sort of thought process in the back of my mind, having not purchased anything else and thinking, because it was 500 quid and I was like, shut up, I'm not spending. I just couldn't bring myself to do it. And then I got a decent deal on it was either eBay or Amazon, I think. Somebody had sold it and I was really into it. It wasn't secondhand, it was brand new, but it was one of those where they probably weren't using it and whatever. And the first thing I did was scanned everything. And I thought, and this was the thing, I thought, well, once I've scanned everything, what am I going to use it for? And I'll admit, I don't use it now as much as I do because I've got Scannable. But if I do get a document in, or a PDF or something that I don't want to read or spend time doing, it's just so phenomenal. It's the best investment, one of the best investments.
Just another reflection about Evernote, and this is the issue around notebooks, and I'm not sure where we're at. When I was at it last, it was 200 notebooks was the max amount of notebooks on the premium account. Yeah. But the guy I talked to was real interesting, and it led me up a whole other field of data searching, because he said, no, I only have 3 notebooks, and everything else I sort through tags. So his argument was, if you tagged at the front end, everything could go into 3 notebooks. Now, I don't know, because I had run to a point where 200 notebooks was now a limitation. I started stacking the notebooks, and I was just at that point is when I lost the faith. But I could see his argument was intelligent tagging in the front end design made for an extremely simple structure. Any thoughts or where that's at?
Yeah, I mean, as a one-man band, how I would do it is I would have. And I've got 3 notebooks at the moment. Actually, I've got 4 notebooks at the moment. Right. I've got personal. Mm-hmm. I've got work. Okay. I've got the council, because I'm a counsellor, and I've also got clients. Now, I know that comes under work, right. But sometimes I just want to split it out because I have different types of work. Anyway, I won't go into that. But then I tag everything. So under personal, for instance, I have a tag for Izzy, which is my daughter. So all the stuff like we were talking about earlier, Marcus, like all the stuff we get from school or whatever. Yeah. I also have instruction manuals. So if I've bought something and I want to scan the manual, because you never can find them when you need them. Of course, yeah. And that's how I do it. So I tag everything. And so I do see his point. I don't see why you would need that many notebooks.
Okay, so for me, I was just searching. Here's the beauty. I love this, right? So I just went into Evernote and I typed out the word Evernote limits. 12 notes came up, and one of them is a thing talking about what limits exist for your Evernote account. Okay, doesn't get better than that considering what we're talking about. Now, in there, if I bothered to distract from yourselves, I would find that actually public notebooks are unlimited, but private ones are about 250, like you're going to need 250 notebooks. I don't subscribe to your 3 notebooks only because you've only really recently been using it again.
Yeah, I probably would add more.
I have got, and I can't see the number because I don't have the number switched on for mine, but there are probably about 40 notebooks in there, maybe more.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. And I have stacks. So what would be more relevant would be to talk about stacks. So I have and when I say stacks, for anybody who doesn't understand, I'm sure you do, Liam, is you can grab my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 workbooks that are something to do with work and drop them on a work stack or create a work stack out of it. That really just helps with being able to find things very quickly. So in my stacks, I've got work, technology, social media 101, MGB business, so anything to do with stuff that I'm doing. And then I've got a whole bunch of randoms, right? But there are some clever things you can do. Like one of the things I wish I paid more attention to early on is the ability to use a get things done type strategy. So I agree with you 100%. Absolutely. Tag things galore. I am very, very open about the amount of tags that I use. I don't restrict myself to using particular tags. I don't care. If something comes up, I just tag it. I whatever, because what I've got to remember is the way that I use it is when like I just did a minute ago, I'm doing things in context. So if I want to know about limits for Evernote, I'm typing in Evernote limits. I didn't want to have a tag Evernote or a tag limits. I just wanted to be able to find it. But incidentally, if I go back to that particular note, I don't know what it was tagged as, but for whatever reason, okay, so it was tagged as Evernote. So I guess if I was having this conversation where I wanted to talk to somebody deeply about Evernote, I would have a kind of sphere of information that I could pull on straight away just by typing in the word Evernote that it would have pulled from a tag. I really am a massive evangelist for Evernote, for sure, because I went all in. I absolutely respect and understand your hesitation for it, Liam, because there's no question I truthfully probably have more in there than I ought to have in there. But I am conscious that this organization goes out of business if they screw up with our information. I mean, you've got Evernote Business as from an enterprise point of view. So a lot of people are paying to be involved in that. You've got private accounts and business meshing together now, so that if my organization chose to use this, and I would have visibility of my private accounts, but I would also have visibility of my public accounts all in one place. And also, a bit like LinkedIn does with Team Link, if you're using LinkedIn Navigator, because I know Paul, anybody that Paul knows, I can automatically see as well, because of that Team Link. Well, Evernote's the same in Evernote Business. We would all share the ecosystem of the things that we know as a result of being clubbed together. Now, I've got that separation at the moment because my people, it's the future for them, and they're just not into that. Plus, there are loads of other much more corporate things that they can use and feel satisfied and happy with that are a bit more mainstream. So you're not going to find Slack, you're not going to find any of that stuff. That's maybe 10 years from now, some bright spark might have mentioned it and they might pick up on it. But for now, in my personal life, hands down, I find it a very, very useful tool, and it's absolutely something I use without question every single day.
There are companies that are moving over to these things now, but you can understand other companies' reticence in doing so because it's a significant investment in time in changing the culture.
If they screw up once, they're done for. And one thing I didn't mention, which I should have mentioned, and this is particularly for you, Liam. Ironically, I don't know if you can see this because the call's not very long. This is a poxy little 250 gig hard drive that came out of my. Well, I screwed up by switching it off the wrong way.
That's a 3 terabyte one.
Okay, so this I could go that way, but because of my
Mine's bigger than yours.
See this one here, guys? That's only a couple of kilobytes.
That's like 58K.
That one is the best one of all, but the problem is it gets jumbled and you can't figure out what's going on quickly.
No, I can reinvent the data all the time on this one.
So anyway, the point is, I don't remember exactly what the point was, but I think that when you're digging in, okay, here it is. This is quite important. So, because of the problem that you mentioned up front, just the hint of any issue with Evernote, I was like, that gave me the willies. I was like, oh, if that can happen to them, it can happen to me. So,
yeah, me too.
What I have done is a little bit of research, not enough. I haven't finished this workflow, but I decided to let them park it for a while. It's the business of backing up Evernote. So at least once a month, when I remember, whenever I'm connected to my Drobo, I right-click, go into Evernote, and this is one for you, Paul, because this is not obvious to anybody.
On desktop?
Yeah. So if you go into Evernote on the desktop, and then you go About Evernote, so that brings up the kind of About Me screen, and you can see what version you currently have.
Yep.
If you then click the Alt key, the ALT, the Alt key, you get something that says Open Database show up. And I know this because I got in with the developers and we had a discussion about this. So when it goes to Open Database, if you then click on that, it will literally open up the file that constitutes what is database to your Mac. I make a copy of that physical file about once a month or whenever I remember. But literally, it will take what my computer understands to be the local copy of Evernote, and it will copy that whole thing, and then I drop that on an external hard drive, just so that I physically. So if it all went tits up pear-shaped, I'm hoping that I've got a kind of back to where I was copy before it all went wrong, that I can then talk to Evernote about to reinstate stuff. Because I cannot imagine how devastated I would be. I mean, like I said, as soon as you start adding pictures of your kids or all of that stuff, that's never coming back again. And it's an investment, if you do this stuff, it's an investment of your time and energy. And like any investment, you can win or you can lose. And I don't want to lose. It would be really bad.
Yeah. When we wrap this up, I want you to talk me through that again.
No problem.
How you back up, because that's quite useful.
I'm gonna do it today.
Now, have we got any members of the audience who would like to come in and say hi? I wish everybody a Merry Christmas, and also maybe talk about what. Thanks for joining us, Liam.
Yeah, thanks, Liam. It's been great to meet you and have a chat.
Yeah, and by the way, Liam, if you ever, if you do work from home and you've got any ideas on what you might want us to talk about on future shows, make sure you let us know. But yeah, if there's anyone in the audience that wants to jump in, take a seat. I would also
say, Liam, go follow me on Twitter, because I don't talk about Evernote much, but when I do, I do. And more than that, it's just to give us this connection so that if ever you want to go chatting and gassing about that. It's not for everybody, but I do kind of have a bit of a passion for it. So if ever you fall back into the Evernote ecosystem, I'm always good for learning. So, and as in I want to learn from other people how they use it.
Now, as is always the case when you and I get together, Marcus, that's all we talk about is tech. And that's what this show has been, one great big top tech tip, especially on Evernote. But you know, we're getting close to the end now. We've nearly been on an hour. What is your top tech tip?
Well, I have spoken about a number of things because I've been a bit cheeky, I have to admit, and I wanted to do that. So Merry Christmas, everybody. But I think that one of the things that's secretly been giving me a little tiny bit of joy lately is something that I picked up from somebody else. And it's another Chrome app. It's not going to cost you anything if you're clever. This one is called Grammarly. I don't know if you're familiar with it. I expect you're going to say yes, but cool. This is a good one. It's called Grammarly, and that's literally grammar. So Grammarly. You add the extension to Chrome.
Yeah.
It kicks in the background, and what it will do is everywhere where you're writing stuff in maybe Facebook, in Twitter, because you're doing a document, maybe wherever, it literally checks your grammar as you're going along. Now, it's a spell check, except it's a spell check on steroids, really, because it really checks all of this really clever stuff that, under normal circumstances, you and I don't care about. And so what it's doing for me is it's allowing me to generate the habit of doing the right things. So Grammarly, it's really good. Apparently, it can live inside Outlook as well, which would be really useful. But unfortunately, because of our VPN, I can't access that, so I switched it off.
I could find that use for that when I'm writing blogs, I think.
Yeah, just generally, you'd be amazed. Once you put it in, it shows up everywhere, and you're like, oh, okay. And it tells you needed to put a comma there, or you needed to, did you mean this, or did you mean that? It's very, very clever, and it's just a really cool way to work. And I have one more before I hand over to you, and I picked this one up just today. And I have Amy Schumer, or whatever her name is, to thank for this. You going to let Mohammed in? Hey, Mohammed. No. Okay. The one that I have just picked up and I'm going to enjoy trying to get to grips with is called Strides.
Strides. Right.
The premise here, it's free.
How much is it?
It's free.
Right.
Free.
Makes a change.
And by the way, the reason why I said Grammarly, if you're clever, it won't cost you anything, is because they keep sending me emails trying to make me go pro. I don't know why I would want to, but anyway. So Strides is an iPhone app that basically is all about goals. So you put in whatever goal you have, whether it's health, work, whatever, blah, 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 whatever it is. And this thing will basically help you by saying to you, I put in a goal today for drinking more water. And in the time that we've been here, I have seen a notification that has told me, hey, time for you to go drink some water. Now, I could have more self-discipline, but quite frankly, the world moves at such a fast pace. I've got so many things going on, and it is something that I'm not doing enough of. So it is my mission to drink at least, I think the setting here is for 8 glasses of water a day.
Yeah.
And so that's what I've told it to do. And it will tell me on a scale of 0 to whatever how I'm doing. And it will tell me on a daily basis, and there's dashboards for all the rest. And that's just water. I can set this thing for finances, for a big goal that I have, for anything. It's very, very cool.
If it came with sort of nodes that plugged into your throat, so they automatically tracked when you, because the thing is with these apps, they're all very good, but you got to actually put the data in, and that takes time. And I can't be arsed with all that.
I only picked this up today, but as I understand it, this is a swipeable thing. So as soon as the thing comes up,
you still got to swipe it though.
Yeah, you do. But you know what? I think this is about habits and creating positive habits. And ironically, it also allows you to track bad habits. So if you put a habit in there that is a bad habit for you, you can track it in exactly the same way. And then by doing so, you can reduce your 100% bad to 0. So I'm going to give it a shot and see how I get on. I'm going to put in, get rid of the daddy belly again.
I think it might come in handy for me in the new year when I start my New Year's resolutions to lose weight and get healthier, and that will last probably 5 minutes. But
which is why I'm not a big fan of New Year's resolutions, to be honest, because you have that mental thing where it's not, New Year, I'm going to do it. Doesn't mean you shouldn't start trying to do something or outline what your problems are, but I'm pretty reflective generally, and I think something like that will allow me to just throw it all in there and switch it on when I'm ready. So I'm going to have a good think over the course of the next few days about, what do I really want? is it just drinking water? Is it, to be a millionaire? Is it, what do I really want? I'm going to put them all in there and I'm going to see how I get along, because you know what? Who is it and what's the expression? Something about what gets measured gets done. So I'm going to give it a shot.
Fair enough. Okay. Well, my top tech tip, I did have two, but I think I'm going to bottle out of one of them because I really don't want to run the risk of my wife and daughter finding out what they're getting for Christmas, or one of the things. I've bought a family present this year. I've bought other presents as well, but there's one, and it's probably, people will say, oh, it's more for you than it is for them. Maybe so, but it's really cool, and I'll tell you offline. I've already told you what I've got them, Marcus. I can't remember.
You mentioned talking about it on Slack, but we didn't get there.
All right, I'll tell you after. We'll go in a pair in, and I'll tell you what it is, but it's double cool. Anyway, my top tech tip for this week is my Philips Hue lights.
You do love them, don't you? I love them. You almost got me buying some of those, I've got to be honest, but I can't bear it.
Well, they're in the background there, and what they are, there's lots of different Philips Hue lights that you can buy. So you can buy the bayonet ones, the screw ones. You can buy blooms, which is what they are. These are like circular metal, but almost like cereal bowls, the shape of them.
Oh, okay.
And they project light out.
Is that what that is? Is it quite a big
there's two of them there, yeah. No, they're about the size of a cereal bowl, about that big. Okay. But they're on an angle, so you can put them on the floor and they point up at a wall.
It's quite nice. Quite a nice idea.
Yeah. And what I love about them is they really do set the mood, and you can change them to literally any color. Okay. And you can even take a picture. If there's a color that you like for instance, the orange on here, I can take a picture of that and it will replicate that color.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And you can set lots of different ones. There's all sorts of APIs that app developers are plugged into, and which make them really cool. And one that I'm really looking forward to is a Netflix API, which will allow a developer to literally what's on the screen is change the colors according to the screen. So if the scene is, I don't know, a jungle scene, it will turn it green.
See, I'm picturing myself putting something in like one of those.
Yeah, you can do that.
Or a floor light.
Because
I've got spots in my office, but they're not spots from the ceiling. They're on the wall. They're like shelf spots. But I would have to put like a lamp in the corner just to kind of have that mood lighting thing. And I think that's probably a good idea. I mean, there's probably something to be said for that ambient light, how it makes you feel, all of that stuff. So you know what?
And they do all sorts of different lights. They also do the strips. And in fact, one of my clients, who is an interior design shop, and virtually every month her window display changes. She's got them in her window display, and which means that you can change the color depending on the display. And it makes her shop really stand out, particularly at night. She said to me that she always gets clients that comment on it. So, there is a business use for them.
Yeah, I am potentially interested, actually. So talk to me about costs. Not that I'm Mr. Cost Conscious, but why not?
You need a starter pack because it's not just the bulbs. You need a Wi-Fi bridge.
Okay.
So you buy the starter pack. And the starter packs differ. They have different types of bulbs in them. You can decide which one you like.
I think I looked at this briefly in the last few weeks, actually, because I think when you were talking before, I went and looked at it and went, how much? And just pushed it to one side for a minute because it wasn't important enough. But, I sometimes I get an impulse buy. You see, as you can tell, with most things with me, it has to really serve some kind of a really cool purpose. And I know in your case, it really does. I mean, it's part of the scenery of our show, which is really cool. And I know you like it. And I think that's enough for me.
Yeah, and I do other shows and I have them on and people always comment on them. And, I just love them. They are a bit gimmicky, I suppose. But the other thing I like about them is that you can plug them in to If This Then That.
Now, why would you do that? Oh, is that for when you're away?
Yeah. So if you go out the house, you can set it on location so that when you leave a certain geo-fenced area, they switch off. So if you don't forget to turn them off. And conversely, so my wife knows when to get my dinner on when I've been to a council meeting. Because when I leave the council offices, and it's about 15 minutes from the council offices to here,
Shut up. So the lights change, and she's like, oh, "Come in."
No, the lights blinker.
That's awesome. Imagine that.
So,
I mean, you know, that short of having your stereo start playing the Darth Vader theme song whilst you're coming, you know, I mean, it's like he's coming home. I mean, wow.
Actually, you're giving me an idea there, because I'm pretty sure I've got that also next to that, the red light there. Can you see the Sonos speaker?
Yeah.
So you can there must be an app for that.
Bet there is. I won't be the first guy to think about that. It has been known to be done, but wow, the applications are almost abound.
Liam says, "What a responsive wife." Sometimes.
No,
Now we've come to the end of the show. It's been a great one. Always love talking with you, Marcus. That's not, for those who have seen the show for the first time, that's not really the focus of the show. We are the Home Workers Network, and we talk about anything to do with working from home. And we normally have a theme every week, but this week we decided just to go with the flow.
Yeah, I was being a bit naughty in my top techiness, but I figured, like he says, you know, it's Christmas. And you know what? Turns out that's what I'm about. I'm about productivity, workflow, tech. And of course, I've got a day job like everybody else. But you know what? We do the things that switch us on and that make us happy, right? And for me, it's been cutting through the nonsense and finding those little things that kind of help us to get things done a little bit more quickly and a bit more efficiently. So I've really enjoyed it. Hey, Mark's on the show, and we've got to get him in on the after show because he's so cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And again, for those people who it's your first time here, make sure I've just put a link to our Facebook page. Make sure you subscribe. Now, we haven't decided whether we're going to do a show next week or the week after. We might have a 2-week break over Christmas, but keep an eye on our Facebook page and we'll announce what we're going to do. We might do a couple of sort of impromptu lunch hour ones, but we will be back at the beginning of January for sure. Yeah. But like I say, keep an eye on our Facebook page and we'll keep you updated on that. But Merry Christmas to everybody. Yeah. Happy Hanukkah, happy holidays, whatever it may be. But just have a restful Christmas. I know I'm really looking forward to doing nothing. Yeah. In fact, if I did nothing, it'd be more than what I'd want to do, to be honest with you, because I've had a really busy 8 weeks and I need to rest. And even though I'm a Jewish fella, I do enjoy Christmas, just eating, being merry, opening presents, watching rubbish TV and doing nothing. I couldn't
tell by your get-up that you enjoy Christmas. You notice, I'm reduced to just a mere headdress and my usual power back.
Absolutely. Now, on behalf of Julian and Phil, Phil had to leave because he had a client turn up early. That's why I left earlier on in the show. And Julian's particularly busy at the moment. But on behalf of them, happy Christmas to everybody, and we'll look forward to seeing you in the new year. Thank you very much.